Hey everyone, welcome to the Skill Link Podcast, where we get together with content creators, competitive players, and all voices in between who make the Pokemon community incredible. Today, our guest is a tournament runner. He is doing something really niche. He's friends with all of your favorite NPCs throughout the Pokemon series, and he's running them through an AI tournament to see who's the best. He's done multiple different versions, from champions, from viewer-submitted teams, and now he's doing the Master Tour, where 256 trainers are all coming together to try and reach the top. It's our friend, Pokedad. How's it going, my man?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Doing well.
Doing awesome.
Doing well.
That's good.
Yeah, we're very excited to hop into this. I mean, we were just chatting before we hit record on how accessible what you've been doing lately is. It's really fun to watch. I mean, Logan actually told me about you beforehand. You know, we've been reaching out to a lot of different people lately, and we kind of bring to the table different content creators that we've come across. So he's like, dude, check out some of Pokedad stuff. And I just came across it this last weekend. And I'm like, this is binge-worthy Pokemon content that is just like right up my alley.
That's like the best compliment for a YouTuber. Bingeable.
Yeah, it really is. At first, I'm like, oh, this, because I watched your intro video. I mean, we'll of course get more into the content itself and of course the different tournaments later. But I watched the intro video and I'm like, okay, this is a really, really good premise. You got, I mean, anytime you got some Mirror B in there from Pokemon Coliseum and XD, I'm sold. So you did. I'm like, all right, I'm on board. And then next thing I know, I'm halfway through the first and second parts. And I'm like analyzing. I'm like, why in the world did Rosie lose to the rock type gym leader? I'm like, how did you, I'm like analyzing these AI battles. I'm completely enthralled in it. So, I mean, you got some fun stuff on there. And then of course, you know, your analysis and your commentating on it as well. So it's good.
Yeah, thanks. It's been an interesting, I guess, ride over the last thereabouts of year and a half since I started the content. So my channel actually started on TikTok in about August last year. I kind of had a thought about doing a YouTube channel about 5 years ago, but never got around to it. And then the start of last year, I actually opened the channel and had intention to make essentially a channel where I gave advice on how to play Pokemon, how to battle competitively, how stats work, EVs, IVs, all those kind of things. Basically like a trainer academy kind of thing. But then the Masters 8 tournament happened in the anime, which, to be honest, I didn't watch. I just sort of saw people talking about it. And I was like, hey, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so thought about the idea. And then my first tournament was called the Masters 128, which is not a very good name, but it kind of fit the theme of the anime. And from there, it sort of just spiraled and became essentially what my channel is about, rather than, it was just something I was doing for fun. Wasn't initially going to share it. And then, you know, next minute, that's all my channel is. It's kind of boxed into this little niche of its own.
That's incredible.
I love that. I love it. And one of the things that I really liked, so I mean, first and foremost, it's really fun to see kind of how you pulled like the various ideas together. So like you had the Champions tournament, but then also in this one, Josh and I were noticing. I mean, what's really cool is you really like went deep into the franchise, pulling in like Pokemon Revolution, trainers as well. And so like there was no game that was left, untouched or uninvited to this tournament. And we loved that. We loved seeing, the representation from, so everybody can have a piece of the pie, you can say, and have somebody they're rooting for. And I think that's just a lot of fun to kind of see, for everybody to kind of see where, their favorites are in the tournament, how they do. And I just thought it was a lot of fun. I thought the team Snag'em Grunts being in there were super fun as well. So I just want to say it's really exciting. But then one of my favorite comments that I heard you mention in, I think it was one of your intro videos, is that you have a deep love for Pokemon music.
Absolutely.
And I'm just curious, like, what is it about the music that you love? And then do you have like any specific favorites?
I think it really comes down to nostalgia for me. So I'm 29, so when Pokemon really started in Western countries, so we got it basically the same time as the States in Australia. So I was about 4 in 98 when the anime started, and the the first Pokemon movie came out the next year. I was a bit too young for handheld games. I didn't have anything like that. My parents weren't really keen on games or that kind of thing until I was about maybe 7 or 8. So I didn't really realize it was a video game until I was about 6 or 7.
Yeah.
But Christmas when I was 7, I got given Pokemon Gold. And that was my life for the next 2 years. Between that and Crystal, which was entirely a different game to a kid.
Definitely.
And then moving into Ruby and Sapphire when it went from, Game Boy quality to Game Boy Advance quality in terms of sound, and just the difference from that, it really sort of kicked into gear for me. And then you hear some of those songs, particularly when they've been remastered for a remake game like Heart Gold or Alpha Sapphire, playing the ones I'm biased towards because they're the ones I played. It sort of brings back that emotion that you were experiencing when you were younger. So, just the joy of encountering Johto Pokemon, for instance, which was before I'd actually seen the Johto anime. I might have dropped away from it by that point. So I didn't realize that some of those Pokemon even existed. And then, the experience that you have of meeting them for the first time when there's, no internet definitely internet, but there's no Bulbapedia or Cerebi that you're aware of, for instance, as a 7, 8-year-old. So you're discovering everything for the first time. So I think that's why I like it. It brings out that kind of emotion. If I was looking to particular tracks that I really like, some of the battle ones really just sort of get to me, particularly if they encompass the entire game. So, for instance, I don't necessarily think Leon's champion theme is spectacular. By any means. But if you listen to that from start to finish, you'll hear elements of every other track in the league tournament. So going from the gyms to battling with Hop, because obviously being the brother. So there's just so many elements of that are there. And then, for instance, as well, same game, looking at the Eternatus battle theme, that also goes through various waves of dread and then fighting back, and then suddenly there's victorious slam at the end where it goes through, battling alongside Zacian or Zamazenta, and then just the epic sort of swell that comes behind that at the end. So yeah, you can probably tell the bit of passion that I've got for that from there. But then as well, on the counterpoint, you also get the soft tracks in Pokemon as well. Like I'm not sure the exact name of it, but it's sometimes it's just called Emotion or Unwavering Heart. The one that all the YouTubers play at a sad moment when their Pokemon dies in a Nuzlocke. I played that as a joke because initially when I started as Pokedad, now my character that I have is AI Turo. My little thumbnail, but it started as Norman from Hoenn because he was the only real Pokedad. I did like to put in to say that being a father myself, I was much less of an absent dad than Norman.
Than Norman was.
Didn't live
Norman
2
always
towns
at the
over.
gym.
Yeah, always at the gym, away from
left
his
his mom at home. Yeah.
But
what a guy.
When Norman lost in the first tournament, I played the Unwavering Heart or Emotion right at the end as he lost, and then I forget exactly what I did, but I made it just sarcastically sad and yeah. So
that's awesome.
I think the various tracks I put in there, I really try to spread it around, particularly in the last tournament. I think I touched about 80 or 90 different tracks across those 256 battles. It was really fun just seeing what I could include.
That's really, really cool.
I love it because I was listening through those and each one was popping up for each battle. And I'm the same way. I mean, I could probably fill up like the next hour talking with you about like, my favorite champion track, my favorite Elite Four tracks, my favorite route tracks, city tracks, so on and so forth, because I think that really is such a big strong suit of Pokemon and the reason it's been so enduring. Obviously, the creatures themselves, and the way, each playthrough is so dynamic and so unique. But I think a big supplementary part of what makes Pokemon is the music. You have the intense tracks of legendary fights. I mean, you have unique stuff like the Deoxys battle theme. Of course, you have like the Dialga themes, the Kyogre. I mean, there's just some really iconic themes. And then you have, I mean, honestly, I thought Scarlet and Violet's OST was phenomenal. Playing through it recently.
It really was.
I mean, you have
there's no right answer in terms of, like you're saying, you could list off your favorites. There's no right answer to what your favorite is. A lot of people say the best route track is 209 from Sinnoh. And it's like, sure.
It's a
but
great
then
one.
there's also, I forget the route number, but the one to the west of Ecruteak and Johto, between Ecruteak and Olivine, which
Yeah,
really
I can
just
picture it.
hits, and it does feel like you're walking past Miltank. And then, champion theme, everyone goes straight to Cynthia because it's got the lead in, or similarly the Volo track. But you also look at something like Iris, or even, I mean, Diantha's a frustratingly easy battle to have to finish a game, but her soundtrack is phenomenal.
It's great, yeah.
I've found that they've really touched really strong notes on. I don't know if they're technically you'd call them rivals, but Marnie's theme in Gen 8 was like I remember there was just a cover that I was listening to, but even just the original, it hits hard. I think it really talks to what Marnie's struggles were and her character arc overall in the games. But then also Penny's theme in Scarlet and Violet recently is like probably one of the most popular tracks that you hear nowadays, and it's just it hits home with what a Pokemon battle should feel like.
It does. And all those, the 3 Team Star themes, to be honest, for myself, my least favorite of those is actually the Team Star boss theme.
Okay.
Interesting.
Which just doesn't hit me particularly personally. And then the Penny theme would be my second favorite. But the Team Star Grunt theme, which you experience so early in the game, within 5 minutes of getting to Mesagoza, you actually battle a Team Star Grunt.
Yeah.
That goes hard. It goes hard straight away. I was must have been thereabouts of a year ago now that game came out, but walking my daughter, who's almost 2 now, would have been almost 1 at the time, just playing a few of those songs in my ears while she's having a nap in the pram. I'm like, I can't walk to this. It's just too intense. It's making me walk too quick. Funny story as well about the Marnie theme. I actually had that once in the 256 tournament. I still call it that, even though I eventually named it the World Tour, because 256 doesn't really roll off. Australians, we speak really quick, so I slur my words constantly. So if I say 256 too many times too quickly, it won't work. But I used the Marnie track once and didn't have time to re-upload, and unfortunately that got copyrighted. So when you get there, if you experience some silence for one battle and it says Marnie's theme at the top, yeah, it's because I took it down so I didn't get copyright for it.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Man, it's cool because like you said, you have the mix of like the really nostalgic tracks. I mean, like a lot of like the hometown themes, obviously. I mean, all the way back to Pallet Town up until recent ones. It hits you with that very like warm feeling, like this is your first time playing through the game, but for whatever reason, this area feels like home. And then you have stuff like, so I actually just realized this not more than a couple weeks ago, but one of my favorite themes from Gen 2, obviously, I mean the Lance Red theme is iconic as a champion theme, but then you have the gym theme for the Kanto leaders, but in gold and silver.
Yeah.
So it's not the same gym theme as from like red, blue, yellow, and then fire, red, leaf, green. It's completely unique. And before you fight Blue, because he takes Giovanni's place, you show up, and of course he's cocky, arrogant as usual, and he's like, "Bring it on, Johto boy." And Johto, whatever, Johto champ, just like some super condescending remark, but then it jumps into the super like just really hype, intense theme, and I'm like, dude, I'm fighting a former champion again. Like it like sets the stage and the stakes so well, and that's why I think it works really well for your tournament. I mean, you have all these incredible themes going on, and it sets the stage really, really well. And before we talk more about these tournaments and some of your content specifically, just kind of as a get to know you question, I mean, do you have a favorite game from each generation of which you've played as far as the main series game? And then as far as non-main series, do you have a favorite one out of like, Battle Revolution, Stadium 2, Coliseum, XD, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I could probably list, half a dozen that are my favorites across.
Like, that stand out, yeah. I mean, do it if you want to, yeah.
Yeah, well, I started with Gold. So I do have a lot of nostalgia for Johto, but I don't think it's the best region personally. It might be a bit of a hot take for someone
I think I agree
of my age. I really came back quite strongly with Hoenn. So I have a very soft spot for Sapphire in particular, and Alpha Sapphire, recognizing particularly the remakes are quite easy. I'd probably have to say, like, Universe really come around the last couple of years for people to love it again.
Yes.
I don't know whether it's, absence makes the heart grow fonder or something like that, because it was absolutely like canned the first little while by Pokemon fans globally pretty well, despite getting amazing critical reviews.
Right.
Black 2 and White 2 are phenomenal games. Not just for, I mean, really, Pokemon World Tournament as well was kind of another inspiration for what I do. But playing that and just seeing, being able to battle against any gym leader from any any generation in the same tournament at points.
Yeah.
Just that was the dream. So I probably have to say that's my favorite, objectively, even though sorry, just recovering from a cold.
You're good.
The last few generations have really assisted in terms of quality of life. So even though it's not the best game, and I definitely can't say it, I really enjoy Sword and Shield because that was the first time I actually could really delve into competitive without it taking too much time. Not that I play it like serious or anything like that, but on the ranked battles online, I'd consistently be able to get to master rank. But it's because finally there were things like Hammerlock University and those poker jobs thing where you could just leave it for a day and it would get all the EVs that you need, rather than having to, fight particular Pokemon to max out speed. So I probably have to say
bottle caps too.
Yeah, farming bottle caps, and then playing Dynamax Adventures so you can eventually get an ability patch. Like,
Sword and Shield was fun, man. That was a good game. It was.
Yeah, it was.
One thing I like that you mentioned with the World Tournament and Unova and stuff like that, and sort of Black and White too, is one of my favorite parts of that, like where you could battle any gym leader, but their team is updated to a lot of the times to the newer generation, so it's not like just up to their Johto team or something like that, but they might have Gen 4, Gen 5 Pokemon on their team as well. And that was a lot of fun too.
I always thought that was so cool as a kid. Yeah, like seeing like Blue or whoever Misty use like Misty throws out a Seismitoad, and I'm like, whoa!
Yeah,
look at her go.
Yeah, and like Erica had for her type team. It was a very controversial decision that I made in my first tournament where I used her grass specialist team, which had a physical Vileplume with Drain Punch. And I got absolutely destroyed because she lost in that tournament. She lost to Crash Awake.
Oh, okay.
No.
Because he had Blizzard on one of his Pokemon, which just took him out, and then he was down to Vileplume, which didn't have Giga Drain. Yeah, that's one thing that I find when I make my content is you may or may not notice that the views comparative to the comments. I get so many comments because people always have their 2 cents, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But at the same point, I can't make anything perfect, or I can't do everything to satisfy everyone.
Right.
Yeah. Sometimes as soon as someone's favorite trainer loses, they just crack it.
They're in the comment section. What have you done?
Yeah, it was like my favorites lose in the first round all the time. Like Norman's never won a battle. Like,
I don't want to hear it, man. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
That's great.
So kind of talking about the tournaments, kind of getting into your content a little more. One of the things that we were curious about is kind of how you got started with AI in general. And then, you kind of mentioned at the beginning of our talk here, how it was originally kind of a hobby, how you're throwing these NPCs against each other through an AI model. I'm just kind of curious about what that kind of looks like and how you started to apply it to Pokemon tournaments. And then just kind of like, I don't know if you can reveal anything about like the process of the AI. I'm just kind of curious how the AI works with all of this.
Yeah, I get that question a lot about how it works, because sometimes it makes decisions that are dumb, to put it mildly. Essentially, how it started, I don't have an AI background. I don't have a computer science background. Political science is my degree, political science and economics. So I don't have anything like that. It was really the idea came to mind. I made the teams on Showdown because who has time to make at that point 100? The first tournament was called the 128, but it actually had 152 trainers because I had a complicated qualifying system, and it was more trouble than it was worth. But I made all the teams, and then I was like, well, how do I do this? How do I make them battle each other? And then I was like, the first thing I tried was battling me versus me. But then it's like, if I'm playing as person A and person B, I'm inherently going to want one of them to win. Because if A decides to use, Ice Beam, for instance, what's B going to do when I know that I'm already using Ice Beam on this side?
Yeah.
So is it fair to react knowing that Ice Beam's coming? And then when I come back to this one, do I still pick Ice Beam because I know they pick something different? So it kind of snowballed into, well, I can't do this fairly because it's going to end up being that, my favorite trainer, probably the hottest female trainer, is going to win because of my own bias.
Yeah.
Or somehow I'm going to have an underdog story that comes through because, content or whatever else, but it's because of my own bias. So then I looked into AI systems, and I saw that someone actually used or did a tournament about a year before me where they were doing the same thing with the Kanto gym leaders. I've
Very
forgotten that
cool.
YouTuber's name. He actually did it really well, and commentated as well. It was actually a really good series. It didn't get as much as many views as it should have. He used this system by someone on GitHub, which is a repository, definitely not suppository, a repository for codes, that kind of thing. So that person's called P. Mariglia. So that is essentially where I started looking at this one. And I tried that in the first instance. So P. Mariglia's one, I just took it and saw how it would go for me. I got a bit frustrated with that one. It's quite good, but it doesn't understand certain things. So,
Yeah.
I played a
Gotcha.
couple of battles against it, just me versus it. One every time because you could sort of maneuver your
Manipulate
way
it.
around.
Yeah.
And sometimes it would just switch Pokemon out for no reason or choose the wrong attack. It didn't understand Levitate, for instance. So, I could just
Interesting.
chuck out Electros and it didn't get hit by anything because we were just trying to Earthquake it the whole time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So in the end, I got too frustrated with it. I actually put the entire thing on hold for about a month thinking, well, how can I do this in a way that's going to satisfy me? Assuming at that point, when I had, 0 subscribers on YouTube, no TikTok account at all at that point, how's this actually going to work? So I essentially took that script that P. Mariglia used and basically made my own version of it.
Wow.
So
Okay.
sort of copied the, I guess, the underlying, system of it, and then after play checking and various other things, just made it so that it understood the few things that I could see as glaring errors, and then each time I encountered something else along the way, would sort of just patch it.
Cool.
All the while teaching myself very basic coding. And look, to be honest, my AI probably isn't the strongest that it could be, but then again, I do this as a hobby, not as a career. So
Right.
Yeah.
given it's something that has sort of been a learning experience across the board, I'm quite proud of it.
Yeah.
But in terms of how it actually works itself, and why some of the decisions it makes are very janky or off, but then sometimes they're to be honest pretty incredible. Sometimes it just pulls something out of the hat that's brilliant. At least on one side, and the other side's just dumb. But essentially, what it does is it's actually quite a slow process because you can watch it live on Showdown. So if I run it on 2 computers, so I run it on computer A, computer B, and watch it on my main computer, which I'm using now. It takes about 20 seconds for it to pick starting Pokemon on both sides, and you can just sort of see its brain whirring in the script, which is running at the same time, and it will always pick the optimum Pokemon for a certain situation, given a few factors. So, for instance, if you're against a mono electric team, for instance, and you have a ground type Pokemon, it will always pick the ground Pokemon. But on the other side, if
Interesting.
it's got something that has an immunity ground, like say if it's Elisa's team from Unova and she's got a Molga, she'll always send out her Emolga if there's a ground type Pokemon on the other side. Just sort of those natural kind of options.
Yeah.
Then from there, what it does when it actually starts battling is they both, because I'm using a game mode on Showdown where you can see what the other Pokemon is, it can't necessarily see the moves. It learns the moves as they happen.
Yeah.
So it guesses what they are based on usage rates of moves on each Pokemon. But essentially, what it does from the first part is both sides will guess what the most likely option is for the other Pokemon to use, and then
Okay.
decide what it's going to do. But then from there, it's going to work out what the other side would do, knowing what their most likely option is as well.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So, for instance, if you're going to use a certain move, you're the AI on one side, and I'm the AI on this side. If I can predict that, and I've got a good switch in, then I'll switch. Or if I've got a status move instead, or something that'll give the best outcome, then I'll use that. It can appear sometimes to be really dumb because of this, because
Right.
the other side will recognize, well, if it's thinking about doing option 1 and I'm thinking about doing option A, If I do option B instead, it might decide to change and do option 2. So in that case, should I go back to option A or go to option C? And it sort of keeps going down those decision trees. So although the battles run at real time, and in the videos I speed them up to 1.5 times so that it's bearable to watch. There's a lot of decisions going behind, and I think one of the more embarrassing ones that I've sent out is it's perfectly rational what the AI seems to be doing, and I feel like sometimes I can explain it, sometimes it's not worth me trying to explain it.
Mm-hmm.
It tried to status a Pokemon that was already statused.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it just looked dumb. But it's because it predicted that Pokemon would switch out.
That's so interesting.
That happens, yeah.
And so it decided that it would go with the status move. And then the other side recognized, it's probably going to use the status move. So I'm going to stay in so that I protect my other one from getting statused as well.
That's
and I'll just
so
keep going
interesting.
until I die. So there is rationality to it. The only problem that I've got so far is it doesn't understand double battles. And it's because with double battles, there's just too many variables. So
yeah,
if you're in a single battle, you've got 4 moves that you can pick from, or you've got 5 switch-ins if you're doing 6-on-6. So really, at any point in time, you've only got 9 options that you can do. Whereas in doubles, you've got 2 Pokemon that can do 4 moves to 2 different targets. And then you can, if you're doing VGC rules, you've got 2 switch-ins which you can use for either Pokemon A or Pokemon B. So there's far more things that you can do. And invariably, when I try and run it on a double battle, it's just switch, 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 switch.
Yeah.
Oh,
attack, switch, switch. So usually it goes for where a double battle is usually quicker than a singles battle in terms of number of turns. It ends up being, I had one go for 117 turns. And yeah, it was just a nightmare because I ran you mentioned our conversation earlier. I ran a user-submitted tournament at the start of this year, which, full disclosure, I will never do again because, for one, people lose straight away and they get quite disheartened, and 2, it was a real slower to my channel's growth. People that were in it were really invested, and people that were not invested at all. It's kind of like the whole classic of my channel where only certain people liked it. I forget the point I was going on there. Where were we?
You're talking about how it doesn't work with double battles.
Oh yeah. So when we got to the knockout stage of that, because it was like a World Cup kind of style, 8 groups of 4, and then knockout top 16. When we got to the 16, I ran like a pick your winners kind of pick your bracket for the championship, and the person that won it got to pick a future tournament, which, to be honest, I regret as a prize because that's a massive prize to give because they take a long time to make these. And the person who won that one has requested, and I still haven't done it because it's been too hard, requested that I do a tournament of every winner of VGC World Championships against each other.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's cool.
And
that's cool.
It is a really cool idea until you realize that as soon as Wolf Glick or someone else sees it and their team loses, they're going to be pissed.
He's mad, yeah.
And as well, at the same point, thinking about someone using 2023 set. So, you use Shohei Kimura, who won this year. Use his team with terrestrialization against, the 20, Ray Rizzo's team from like 2011, 2012, when there's no gimmicks. It's not fair.
It's not, no.
I'm probably going to have to break that guy's heart and say, look, I'm not doing that one in the end because it just ends up being too lopsided.
Right.
But in trying to do that tournament, I just discovered that doubles, sadly, does not work.
Doesn't work.
Yeah, a bit disappointing, but...
Someday, maybe.
Yeah, maybe someday. I have to customize the script a lot, and just given how long these tournaments take, I mean, the World Tour, my last one, which I haven't posted a video in more than 2 months now because I've been quite busy in my real job and family and everything else. That was 18 videos in the end, 256 battles total, and I edit each battle individually. So there's all the graphics and everything, and I edit it twice. Not anymore. I edit it once now from here on, but previously it's always been twice because I do a landscape version for YouTube and a portrait for TikTok. But I haven't actually said this, so breaking news for your podcast. I'm quitting TikTok because it's terrible.
Yeah.
it's just a toxic place for one, and also it's not really worth the effort. The attention to my content really just dropped and dropped. So, by the time that tournament was done, I was lucky to get 700 views on something on TikTok, which is very low. But anyway, the total viewing time for that last tournament is thereabouts of 8.5 hours.
Wow.
Which, is quite a long time to binge. You could watch at least most of Lord of the Rings with that. I don't know what the equivalent drive is in the States, but I could drive from probably Melbourne to Sydney in that time.
Yeah.
That's a
we could
long
almost
way.
get to Disneyland, I think. No, it's a little bit longer than that, but where I'm at, I could definitely get close to. I'm in Utah, so you could get to Arizona nearly in that time. I could have that going.
Yeah, it's a long time. So that actually took, in terms. So I started working on that tournament as a beginning point in February, and I didn't actually post any videos until June. Because it takes time to work out, okay, who's actually going to be in the field. 256. The reason I did that one at the time is because all the numbers really worked out perfectly. I had 16 people I could feasibly have as champions. I had a total of 112 that could be either Elite Four or gym leaders, trial captains, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And being a bit of a maths nerd, being someone who's into, so I used to play a lot of tennis. Same, got like knockout tournaments the whole way. So you said 128, 64, 256. But because I did a particular kind of seeding with that to try and make it fair, it ended up being a bit of a race against the clock before more trainers were actually added in, so I could have the right number of gym leaders, the right number of Elite Four, everything like that in each block of the tournament, so that it could be a reasonably balanced championship. But it took 2 months to kind of set it up. It only took 2 days for me to actually simulate the tournament, because it's just, press start,
plug and check.
away. So I actually simulated over 2 days while I was sick off work in April, while I was watching Hell's Kitchen in the background reruns from like 2004.
Nice. I love it.
And just gradually going through these 200 odd battles. So I actually knew thereabouts of April, beginning of April, who actually won that tournament straight away. And then it was just a matter of finishing everything off.
Right.
So it probably took about, for that 9-ish hours of content, it probably took about 300 hours to do that.
That's crazy.
And
wow.
I mean, like yourselves, it's kind of a labor of love, because
definitely,
we're not talking about an Alpharad level of viewers coming to this, or Jaden Animations kind of thing, where you drop a video, you've got $10,000 in the first minute. Like, it's nothing like that at all. So it's been a fun process. But I'm actually looking to not just be in that space as well, because that can be quite draining. So doing a few other things that sort of showcase, like yourselves, just general love of Pokemon in general.
Right.
Yeah. So there's a few things I'm working on which are a little bit different, which hopefully can start coming out soon, now that I'm not crazy busy.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I just want to give you a shout out, because I mean the thing is like that. I mean, just from what what you just told us, and then also earlier in our conversation you're mentioning like 80 tracks that you went through to put into these specific battles. Like, I just love the care that you're giving your your project, and that you're working to give people. Just because it's those little touches that I think really makes, I mean, part of the reason why Josh and I were so enthralled with it. And like you said, I mean, I think Josh said, I don't know if it was before the call or in here, but that's just bingeable content. That's just stuff that really hits home, really hits that the right spot of the Pokemon niche. So just wanted to give you just a congrats and shout out there, because it really does. I think your work shows there, and it's really good.
It shines through.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Definitely. And also, I'll just since we're already kind of talking about it, I'll just skip ahead on this part, because you're talking about how obviously these tournaments are massive projects. They make for really compelling content. Obviously, speaking firsthand, but obviously you get a lot of interaction. You get a lot of people coming in to always drop their 2 cents, but they're obviously, whether they have something to complain about or something to be like, hey, this is awesome, they're regardless enthralled by what you're putting out. But it does require a lot of manpower on your end. At the end of the day, it's just you, and you're a dad, and you're expecting more. So it's like, you're not making anything crazy off of this, but It's cool to hear that you have other content in the works. And we did want to ask you, without revealing too much, if you want to keep it a surprise, but is there anything you can kind of tease as far as future content that you have in the works, or anything that you do sort of enjoy making to kind of keep an eye out for?
Yeah, so I've only done a few things so far that are not tournament based. So I did after my first tournament finished, I did a ranking of all the opening tracks to Pokemon anime, which is a lot of fun.
Nice.
A lot of
I
people
love those
slam
kinds
me
of
as well
videos.
for that, but then again, as soon as you chuck any opinions out there, people have their own. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was a lot of fun to see how people reacted to that. And like you say, actually, as well, just in terms of reactions, like one good thing is I do have a Discord with, I think it's thereabouts of 350 people thereabouts are
Very
on that.
cool.
So there's a really great community of people there that you know inspire me to keep going. They just message me to have a chat sometimes, and yeah, it's really great on that front, because not only do I get the occasional negative comment on YouTube, but also just get this love from all these people as well, from
Totally.
all around the world.
Totally.
Some of whom are gym leaders on a gym challenge on my Discord now as well. So there's a great community there. But the other videos I'm working on at the moment, so I've always been intrigued why Pokemon's never veered away from type specialist gym leaders.
Yeah.
So I've got a video in the works on what could be done there. Still sticking similar-ish to what they've done so far, but with a bit of my own spin, and incorporating how that could work in a very sarcastic Australian way. So basically, the video will outline an Australian gym challenge.
Ooh.
But showcasing some famous Australian faces as my gym leaders, who people don't realise are Australian.
I love it.
Yeah, like for instance, Margot Robbie will be one of the gym leaders.
Nice.
No one knows that she's an Aussie. Won't reveal exactly how that's going to work, but yeah, it's just going to hopefully start a conversation about how things could be, I guess, made a bit more challenging in some ways, because it's a bit of a non-event sometimes. When the first gym leaders are bug type specialists, like it's been a bit of the trend recently, or a rock type specialist, as was so common early on. Yeah, I've been playing in my mind as well. I'm not sure I'll ever do this one, so I will reveal it. But what if Pokemon just sort of did a bit of an FU and made it difficult at the beginning and easy at the end? So, like, what if you started with like a Dragon type specialist to begin with, and every Pokemon knows Dragon Rage, and then I remembered, they got rid of that.
You're just getting one shot
like
from the get-go.
Yeah, making it so there's like just an OHKO on every shot straight away. Like, I don't know, a no-guard Pokemon with Fisher or something like that.
That's hilarious.
Or, something Gym 1 where, there's something skill swapping with Truant slacking. Yeah, I'm sort of interested in that kind of thing. I'm going to branch slightly out of just Pokemon content as well.
Cool.
To do a couple of videos on other games that I play as well. Just sort of because it's like Pokemon's my main thing that I play in terms of games, but I'm also, big on other Nintendo franchises as well. So showcasing my love for those two will be something that I'm keen on doing. Yeah, so there's a few things coming. They're going to be
fantastic.
Very me. Yeah, one's very mathematical, which is a bit nerdy, but
I love
that
it.
should be fun too. If I eventually get to all of them, but
yeah, the grinding.
There's a lot of ideas, but there's just not enough time. Enough time, because at the same point, like, I haven't even finished the DLC because it takes too much time.
It's time.
Yeah,
life
gets in the
exactly.
way.
Yeah, I hear that. One thing I was curious about, kind of switching back into the AI tournaments just a little bit. One of the things I thought was really fun on your end was that when there was a team, like an NPC that didn't have a full team in the games, you took time and kind of filled out the rest. And like we've been talking a little bit about, your skills and expertise in competitive areas, right? Like what you've learned and kind of making that trainer academy kind of things like that. I was just kind of curious, like, who was one of your favorites to fill out? Like, if there was somebody that needed a little bit more. and like how what things and like what resources would you use to kind of fill out those sets for the Pokemon?
I think probably some of my more preferred trainers to fill out were the gym leaders from Carlos.
Yeah,
because they suck.
they're
They
bad.
really suck.
They're bad.
And the rule that I set myself when I was filling out the teams is the Pokemon that they have to stay pretty well the same.
Yeah.
So the only caveat there was like for a first gym leader like Viola or something. She's got her Masquerain, and I forget what her other Pokemon is that she actually has at the start. Keeping the moves that they have, but obviously if they're really early on, scaling them up so they're a bit more powerful. So from there, the rule that I had was they had to be Pokemon that fit their type, that were located within their region, preferably Pokemon that were introduced in that game, but otherwise Pokemon that were located nearby their home city, that kind of thing. If it needed to spread out, just Pokemon from that region that were the same type, or sometimes something just fit the vibe. Like, I don't know, apparently I just forgot that Grusha didn't have an Alolan Ninetales. I was like, yeah, that seems to fit.
Yeah.
That must have just been very late at night when I gave him an Alolan Ninetales, but fit the vibe, I guess.
It works.
Yeah, I think some of my favorite ones are some that have never really done that well. Actually, Viola made top 16 randomly in my first tournament, which was quite funny.
That's super cool.
It's so random. I love it.
And then sadly, she met a fire trainer in the round of 16 and got demolished. I think though, seeing some of the trainers that have done really well, like it's probably not so much of a spoiler, but my first tournament, Roxy from Unova actually made the final. Like runner up from Unova, the gym leader with the poison type team, pretty random. But for those ones, she already had a team from the Pokemon World Tournament, so it wasn't so much me filling it out. But for that tournament, I actually made them all have competitive builds for the knockout round from top 16 onwards.
Nice.
So that was quite fun to do. I also got assistance from back then my TikTok community to assist in terms of the moves that I gave them at that point. So that was a lot of fun. But filling out from the beginning, I think probably my favorite might have been Wulfric, even though he didn't do that well. Just because having watched the anime through to the end of XYZ, I didn't particularly vibe with the Alolan art style, so I never really watched that anime. But the battle with Wulfric was amazing, and his gym battle in the game is just bad.
Yeah.
He's got 3 Pokemon. He's the last gym leader. He should have had a Mega.
No Mega. He has an Abomasnow, but he doesn't have a Mega Abomasnow for whatever reason.
Yeah.
In the anime, he did, though, right?
In the anime, he did. And it just sort of seems like Sycamore and Lysander are just, hogging this technology and not sharing it with the world. But he lives in a town called Snowbell City.
Yeah.
Like, find some friggin' snow. Like,
what are we doing?
So it was fun making his team, even though he didn't do very well. But I'm also very randomly an ice type person. That's my favorite type.
Nice.
Well, ice and ground, those are my 2. Ironically, don't like using Mamoswine very much.
I was going to ask, do you like the one ice ground Pokemon?
No, because you got to give them a Focus Sash and Ice Shard. That's really the only way it could work. I'm like, it's just too difficult to use effectively. But yeah, I really like ice trainers because they're so commonly bad. But when I was playing a lot of Sword and Shield online, sort of first year of COVID, I made an ice mono type team and got pretty high on master rank just with ice mono type, which was really exciting. It's when I discovered Skill Link Cloister. I noticed your podcast being called Skill Link. Skill Link Cloister is a beast. So yeah, I really enjoyed stacking out some of those gym teams where Game Freak didn't have the I guess the equality in mind to give them a full team at the end of the game. So really, mostly Carlos was where they suffered, because I mean, really their only appearance late game was at the Chateau, and they just get a slightly stronger version of what they have.
Yeah.
So
they get all the writ of challenges, the different colors of the things like that, like the blue writ of challenge, red writ of challenge, and they I'm looking at their teams right now in Bulbapedia, and they're definitely a lot better for sure. So
Yeah, and it's a really cool concept doing like, hey, I can challenge them at any point,
yeah,
but I can bring 6 and they can only bring 2.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and I'm a champion by that point. So,
it's like, what are we doing here? Yeah.
yeah, and it was also really fun bringing in some of the teams from the old GameCube games, which I haven't played a huge amount. I've only played a little bit.
Okay.
Because I was an Xbox kid at that point in my life.
Yeah.
I've actually only got copies of Colosseum and XD probably in the last year to play on my. I guess I probably play them through the old Wii system. Yeah, adding in those teams was a lot of fun, but it's probably the last time that they'll be in a tournament if I have another
Do
one of that
something.
scale.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they're all built for double battles, so they don't really work. Like some of them had a bit of success without spoiling anything, but a lot of them just got eliminated pretty quickly because they just didn't quite have the versatility. And as well, it's before the physical special split, so those ones I actually beefed them out a bit because slacking with Hyper Beam is pretty bad, whereas a slacking with Giga Impact is much more fair. So I swapped those around, but even still, because they were built to be double battles,
Right.
it just didn't quite.
It doesn't work out
as well.
Yeah.
It's a little bit
Some
of
people
farm,
complained
but
about them all being pixelated, and I'm like, no, this was peak Pokemon. Don't complain
it
about
was.
pixels.
Dude, Pokemon Coliseum, specifically, those games are actually fairly difficult. Especially Coliseum, because the final boss, what's his name? It's the short old guy, the bald guy, Evis. I think it's Evis or something like that. He has a 10 level jump that immediately precedes that fight, and he just automatically. No, yeah, you can't grind. It's impossible. Yeah, it's hard to level up. Obviously the encounters themselves are extremely limited unless you're one of those spoiled kids who is able to trade between GameCube and Game Boy. I definitely wasn't. I can tell you that much. And of course, I think he has like an Intimidate Salamence. He's got a Scizor. He's got a Machamp with cover. It's just. That's a fun game as far as like actual really fun difficulty. So I just wanted to shout Evis out, the short little 4'8" bald guy.
And it's just a great scene where he does a little flip. This fat guy just does a jump around, and then
he's like kind of hovering too. He's like something.
Yeah, he bounces out all happy, and then he does this somersault, and he's just evil.
It's kind of creepy.
He's the Darth Sidious of the Pokemon world.
Yeah,
totally is.
Chubby Darth Sidious.
Chubby Darth Sidious. Yeah.
Oh man, I love it. Well, we're going to move on a little bit into our rapid fire round. So this one's just kind of a fun round that we do where, we say like a prompt or something like that, and then you can just kind of give us the answers that you think would be the best for off the top of your head.
Okay.
So for the first one, is your favorite champion Diantha or Iris?
Iris.
Very nice. Next one is Wallace or Steven?
Steven.
I agree. I agree with that. And then last is Cynthia or Blue?
Oh, don't do this to me.
we tried to make these hard.
I think it's got to be Cynthia.
Okay.
They have met in 2 of my tournaments. One was a best of 3, and one was a best of 1 that they played. They're quite old tournaments. Cynthia won the best of 3, and Blue won the best of 1.
There you go.
So interesting.
So they've had some of the best battles that have been on my channel.
I could go at it.
Definitely to go watch those.
Yeah, obviously Cynthia's perfect, but Blue's such a brilliant asshole that you've got to love
it. He really is. It's the perfect amount to just to piss you off, or I don't know. It's great. So, all right, now we got some gym leaders for you. Roxanne or Roark?
Roxanne.
Very nice. Misty or Nessa?
Nessa.
Nice. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah,
I like Nessa.
Well, Misty's a child.
She is.
It's
Nessa
true.
is not.
Yeah.
Very fair.
I don't think.
I think you're right. I want to say
Misty's still like 12.
That's true.
Because if we're going off,
Oh, I don't mean to go down a particular track. Misty's a fantastic character.
Yeah.
But Nessa's also a trickier battle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I
I
think
definitely
this.
think I like the I'm trying to think of the right word. Like the vibes that Nessa gives off. It's just like, I don't know, she's a water type gym leader, and it's got a very kind of graceful, powerful presence to it.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
I think as well, she's just sort of benefits from the latter generations where they have a bit more, because there's, there's
It's
stronger processes in the games. They can really showcase that person is a water trainer, whereas Misty,
Mm-hmm.
Brock, you could switch them in black and white, and
right.
you wouldn't even notice. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
she looks like she could be rock. He looks like he could be water. She's wearing a
Mm-hmm.
bikini in a rock gym. Makes sense, I guess.
Sure, why not? I'm not gonna
Yeah.
question that.
Oh, I love
Nice,
it.
cool.
All
We got a
right.
few more for you.
Favorite rival, Hop or Marnie?
Marty.
Ooh, okay. Barry or
Mhm.
Hugh?
Hugh.
Ooh,
Is that
okay.
controversial?
I don't think so. I like Hugh. I think he's a good guy. I think he's a good rival.
Yeah, Gen 4 was my kind of fell away from Pokemon and came back Gen 5. So
Mm-hmm.
Gen 5 gotcha. Black 2, White 2 are just fantastic, complete games. So I mean, you can't go wrong there. All right, Elite Four, Drake or Lance?
Drake.
I always thought Drake was so. I mean, kind of like you. I've always been I've always been a Hoenn kid as well. I
Yeah.
think one of my first games was we had like an old blue cartridge, but I'm about your age. I'm 20. I just turned 28. So when blue came out, I was a little young. So when I was kind of hitting that age, it was like the end of Crystal heading into Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, like you said, there's just the leap between how Gen 2 looks and how Gen 3 looks on
Mm-hmm.
the advance. It's just I think that's, to me, it's still the biggest jump in
Yeah,
like
probably is.
aesthetic capacity of what the game could pump out as far as soundtrack, as far as just how sprites look, overworld, everything. And
And as well,
so
I
I mean,
think
then
just
yeah.
Drake versus Lance. Drake kind of is the Dragon Master
Oh yeah,
that
he
Lance
actually
is
Yeah.
meant to
has
be,
a team of
and
dragons.
Lance is a bird keeper. I know that's been played
Yeah.
to death, but
Yeah.
it's true.
Yeah,
I
I get
love
it.
it.
All right,
Well, one
next
of the
one.
things,
Oh yeah,
oh,
sorry,
sorry,
Logan.
just really quick with
There you go.
Drake too. I mean, like that battle is epic. You just want to know what the guy's backstory, because he's seen stuff.
Oh yeah.
He's like, and he's got
Oh yeah.
the jacket, like with the, I don't know, he's not even wearing a shirt underneath.
He's not
Right?
even wearing a shirt,
Yeah,
man.
He's just
not
this
a
old
He's got
guy.
a
He's just
sailor's
like,
cap on.
I'm ready to battle, bro. Like, and I just like,
Oh yeah.
he's a vibe.
You know
Yeah,
he's that
in
65-year-old that
ORAS.
still has a six pack and everything, and he's got chiseled. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. In the remakes, he's just got the full coat, like the full length, long coat,
Oh
showing off
yeah.
some abs. Like, if I'm like that when I'm 65, which I won't be, I'll be like, I don't know, diabetic and being wheeled around by my daughter. Um, like, that is a fit man.
Yeah, Drake's classy. I mean, Lance is cool. Obviously, like I said earlier, Lance has the absolutely iconic theme. But I mean, yeah, Drake's great. So
He does, but Lance would be that guy that shows up at the party and just like, oh no, he's here
oh,
again.
Him. It's Dragon Master Lance. Like,
he's gonna monopolize every conversation, make it about him.
He'll say something really ominous, swish his cloak, and just walk away.
Yeah. He's here to talk about his Gyarados again. It's like, no,
Yeah, that's
okay.
it.
we get it. It's
Anyways.
red.
Yeah, you wish it was dragon.
Yeah. keep dreaming, man. All right, next one I got is Larry or Grimsley.
Larry.
Very nice.
I kind of set
I
you
mean,
up on that one, yeah.
Grimsley is far and away better. Far and away better. But Larry.
Larry's Larry. It's Larry.
Amazing.
It's Larry.
Larry's like my day job. So
Nah, most relatable
Yeah.
NPC we've had in a while, honestly.
All right, getting into the evil teams and bosses. We got to go Team Plasma or Team Galactic.
Plasma all the way.
Ooh, very
They're
nice.
probably the best written. I mean, I think Black and White is probably the best written game as far as story goes. Scarlet and Violet really impressed me, but
Yeah.
N is one of the best written NPCs in probably the entire franchise. I think a lot of
it
people hold that.
absolutely is. I mean, Plasma, the boat in Black and White 2 is like the least believable thing in Pokemon aside from the 3,000-year-old man in Carlos. But like, God, that's a good story. And then the
Yeah.
sequel as well. I like Team Star too, but the one thing I don't believe so much about Team Star is like, or just about Scarlet and Violet in general, is like, you've got this massive open region,
Mhm.
and there's nobody anywhere except these random kids that have been sent out on a treasure hunt.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Isn't that a nuisance for the rest of the economy?
Yeah.
I'm thinking too deeply.
No,
about
that.
This is exactly what we love. I was
No,
just
we're-
gonna say, I agree with you there too, just because I remember Pokemon like released that. It wasn't like the anime, like the Ash anime. It was like they released some special like anime shorts or whatever. And I
Yeah.
remember
Mhm.
like that fight. There's a fight episode on that ship, and the protagonist character is teaming up with his rival. You know, it was just epic stuff, and I was just like, that's they did that justice in that
They
little
really
show.
did. Yeah.
All right, next is going to be Team Flare or Team Skull.
Neither.
Neither. Okay.
Declines
I
entirely.
probably have to give Skull the edge. Flare's
Okay.
like, I mean, they're both a bit nothing for me personally.
Okay. That's all
fair.
good. All right, and next one we're going to go into N or Getsus.
Well, in my first tournament, I did an entirely randomized draw, and they face each other round one,
Oh, wow.
which was hilarious. I think in terms of which one I like more, it's probably N, just because he's more pleasant. But
Mhm.
Getsus is brilliantly written.
Very, very nice. And the last one we're going to do is Giovanni or Cyrus.
Giovanni.
Ooh, okay.
Interesting.
Giovanni. Yeah. I've got this headcanon where Giovanni is Agatha's son.
Oh,
And
okay.
Oh.
I want it to be true so badly.
Wow.
I don't know why. I have no idea why.
Can
But
I-
if I
can
was
I
ever
ask-
to write a fan fiction, I would write that one.
Can I just ask, like, why? Like, what is your theory? Like, how did that theory start? Like, why did
You just
why
want it to happen, or
Okay. The full theory, here we go. The full theory is that Oak and Agatha were once a couple.
Okay,
Yes.
I think I've
And
heard
their
that
child
before.
is Giovanni. But Oak left Agatha before the child was born.
Oh my goodness.
Oh no.
Yeah, Oak is seriously a dick. And then from there, there's
It
this
makes
child
sense.
who's like, I reckon Agatha eventually, was a very distant mother. And I don't know, is Bertha her sister? Is Bertha her
That's
daughter?
gotta be.
I was always
agree.
under the impression.
I said in a video that she's her daughter, and then everyone's like, nah, she's her sister. They're clearly both ancient. But like, I don't know. I'm not really
Well,
good with age.
You also got to know the time. Like, I don't know what the timelines are because I know like Kanto, so like Red, Blue, and technically Ruby, Sapphire. That takes place at the same time. Red story takes place at the same time as Ruby or Sapphire. I don't know which one he's called, but that story, Brendan's story, right?
Brendan and May.
But
Yeah.
I don't know how far ahead in the timeline, the Diamond Pearl stuff is.
Yeah, I've watched videos on that before. I'm pretty sure from those they're about the same time, so they can't be too far off. But yeah, I guess my headcanon is either she's, I don't know, Agatha's sister or Agatha's other child. Maybe.
Okay.
Because they're
I
both
like it.
also ground
I see it.
specialists, Giovanni and Agatha, so maybe they're, sorry, and Bertha, maybe they're
And
twins.
Bertha.
And Bertha just looks
Yeah.
old because she's seen a lot.
Because Giovanni's clearly. I mean, I don't know if I could put an age on him, but you definitely peg him for not young, but definitely not like super old. So I mean, if there's a little bit of a time difference, then I could see. I mean, even if it's like an older sister, I mean, there's siblings that are 10, 15 years apart. I mean, here we are theory crafting on.
Yeah,
on
Is
that,
this
but
so? And in this theory, then, if we're following these connections, that means Silver is Oak's great grandson. No, is Oak's grandson.
Yeah, the other grandson.
the other
So
grandson,
Blue-
yeah.
He's got this track record of grandsons being kind of knobs.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, if Oak left before before Giovanni was born, then I mean, it runs in the family apparently.
Exactly.
That's
and
crazy.
Then also, Silver is clearly, at least from just the visuals of the game, if he's definitely Giovanni's son, which is pretty well confirmed.
He is,
Yeah.
Then his mum is probably Ariana.
Oh
The
yeah,
admin, because she's got exactly the same hair.
Yeah.
So we've gone from like assuming Agatha is Giovanni, which is 100% accurate. Satoshi
I agree.
Tajiri, come at me. It's true. Then, grandmother abandoned her child, and then the child had an inappropriate workplace relationship within a mob situation.
Yes.
So it's basically like Tony Soprano's mistress, and then Silver comes along. No wonder he's angry.
Yeah, 100%. Because I mean, it's just successional issues within the family. It makes sense.
Yep.
I like
Jerking his
it.
friends in the family.
It's all because
Nice.
Oak wanted to make the stinking Pokedex, man. That's all it is. He couldn't take away time away from work.
Here's our clickbait for this interview. It's going to be Professor Oak, the real villain of the Pokemon franchise.
Exactly.
Just some crazy clickbait. That's what it's going to be.
It.
So,
well, he's always got an agenda. In the anime, he sends out Ash for a long time, and he always appears with Ash's mum. Like,
I know. Interesting.
There's
What's
always
going on
something going on there. He's planning.
I think he plays a little dumb too. Can you really trust a guy who says he's a Pokemon expert, and then he doesn't know about the other 900 Pokemon that exist in the universe?
Yeah. 100%.
Like, okay, Mister One. I'm just playing, but of course, Mister 151. As if there aren't 900 other Pokemon out there. All right, Professor Oak.
Yeah, the logic of Pokemon really goes out the window as soon as you realize no one's ever traveled.
You can't take it seriously, but it's fun to joke about. So,
all right.
We got a couple shower thoughts to kind of wrap up here, our last little section. We're kind of already delving into it, but shower thoughts are just the random Pokemon thoughts that will come to you throughout the day. Just kind of fun things to think about, whether you're at the gym, in the shower, hence the name. Logan and I each got one for you here. My shower thought question for you. If you could design the starter Pokemon for Gen 10, what would they look like animals that they're based off of, and then what typings would you give the final stages? And don't say firefighting for the fire type.
Oh, yeah, you've caught me out. I was going to do firefighting because we need that one. So Gen 10 is going to be in Australia.
Oh, I love it.
That's my thinking, at least. At least that's what I've been thinking about, because I have no talent at drawing, so I can't do any of that kind of stuff at designing my own region myself. The grass type starter would be a kangaroo.
Okay.
I think it'll probably be grass fighting.
Okay.
I like that. I like that.
Final evolution obviously has a baby kangaroo in the pouch, so parental bond comes back to play.
Ooh.
And that's okay, because Pokemon is consistently giving starters ridiculously OP abilities.
Yeah.
So it tracks. The water Pokemon will be a platypus. Have you seen platypus before?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Well, not in real life. I've seen Perry the platypus. But
yeah. So that would be water poison, because they're heavily poisonous.
I like that.
At least I believe they are. If not, I've just done my country incredibly bad. But we'll go with they're poisonous. So we'll have a little baby platypus evolves into a big bad poisonous platypus. And the fire one, it kind of sucks that we've gone off the track of the Zodiac with fire, but I hadn't really thought about that one too much. I probably have to, if sticking to the Aussie theme, I'd have to go with probably an emu.
Okay.
So maybe fire flying, or otherwise, what people don't realize is there's a lot of camels in Australia.
Oh,
so
really?
Maybe we could have a camel. Yeah, they're all wild. They're rabid.
Interesting.
Maybe not rabid. There's a lot of them though. Yeah, so maybe that.
That'd be cool.
Because Spain somehow stole the fire crocodile.
Yeah, that's a crime. Yeah, I know.
That's ours.
Yeah, where did that come from? I love Skeletors, but I was not expecting it for the Spain region.
We had Steve Irwin. He was ours. The crocodile.
Yeah.
Come on. What a crime.
Crocodile Dundee's. I mean, I don't even... Do they have them in Spain? It's us in Florida. Are they alligators?
I think
alligators technically right.
They got both.
They
got both. Yeah.
Yeah. So if it was an emu, I'll probably have to go fire flying, and then if it's a camel, just for fun, maybe fire ground.
Ooh,
that could be fun. But fire ground kind of has to be slow.
Yeah,
that gives me Nummel camera up vibes right there.
Oh, it's been done. Damn it.
There we go.
The other thing that would be required, and this is just going slightly off tangent, is if that's the region we had, we'd have to have a Pikachu clone that's a quokka. Have you ever seen a quokka?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
chuck it in your Google bar. It's Quokka. They're these little they look like little guinea
Yeah,
pigs, but they're only native to one island off the coast of Western Australia, and because humans have never inhabited there, they're not scared of humans.
Oh
that's
wow,
incredible.
They walk around with these ridiculously big smiles,
that's awesome.
That's so cute.
and it's a perfect Pikachu clone.
Uh
It
huh.
really is. That's perfect.
Well,
Yeah,
Rotten Nest Island.
we'll have to throw that
Rock
picture
Nest
up in the
Island. That's it.
video, Josh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good
got to do it.
idea.
Not enough people know about quokkas.
Those are
Not that I've
so
ever seen them. I've
cool.
never been to Western Australia, so big country.
Someday.
It's awesome.
For real. All right, getting into my shower thought here, we're going to say you get to choose which legendary mythical Pokemon the next Legend Games covers. Which Pokemon are you choosing and why?
I've seen a lot of theory videos out there. People keep talking about Kyurem or Celebi or something along those
Yeah.
lines. Yeah, not really sure. Yeah, maybe I'll probably have to go with Kyurem just because I want to go back to Unova in some way.
Yeah.
It'd be cool to see. Because it kind if they're going with Arceus, it kind of can't be one from the legend or from the box art legendaries.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Maybe. Unless they just randomly turn it around. I mean, it could be Victini. Victini could be interesting.
Ooh, that could be interesting.
Or maybe the Johto one, just because there's been such Suicune lore in the past. Maybe there could be a Legend Suicune, but we've just had a lot
Ooh.
of Paradox, Johto,
Johto
Beasts.
stuff. Right.
Got my Suicune behind me as well. Yeah, maybe Victini is probably the one I'd pick in the end because
That's good.
it's not exactly the main one that people would go for. And why is it the victory Pokemon?
Yeah. Like, what did it
I like that.
overcome? What did it? Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be
There's
cool.
got to be some
I
lore
like
there.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good choice.
yeah, that would be really interesting. I really hope they continue with the Legends games. I don't think I've been enthralled by a game like that within Pokemon for probably 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
It's
Fantastic
just
game.
yeah, incredible to build out the lore in that way. And like I don't know, like I just think it's really interesting to see, like, for example, they call, legendary Sinnoh, like that whole interesting aspect of it, right? Where it's like Palkia and Dialga are like mythical beings with a different name, and so we were all trying to figure out like this past history. But then it also, what I thought was really fun is it did really kind of bring in the other regions as well. Like, we had the 3 starters that were from different regions and things of that. So it's like such a good idea to keep going with those.
Yeah, and it really came at a good time before Scarlet and Violet with the past and future kind of trend too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
interested to see. I mean, who knows? They might go for a Legends game that's actually set in the future.
Oh, that would be
Possibly.
sweet.
Yeah, I really hope they continue with it because I mean they started Let's Go, and I'm glad Let's Go was one and done because it was just for gimmick's sake. Like, it was alright, but I didn't get past like 4 gyms. Like,
Yeah.
that's as far as I got. I got to the Safari Zone so I could get a Meltan from Go and then left it.
Exactly.
But these ones, like, it's such a good idea. They could really tap into something that's a bit different. It keeps all the fans that are aging out, possibly, of the main series games interested. Like, I mean, I'm about to hit 30. I don't know how long I'm going to be interested in just, a collectathon. Probably will be, because I've been doing it for 25 years, but maybe not.
Yeah. No, I love that take, and I love that it's just such untapped potential with their established, franchise already, that they can just make it. They can build out so much stuff, especially, I don't know, in my personal opinion, like it's almost like one of those things where they need to really look at what the fans are like and loving, and like just give us like enough, like little bits of what we want, but then switch it up on us too. Like, like, I mean, what they did, like we said, again, like they did just a really good job where they gave some really good tidbits in Legends games, but then they also did enough to where we were not expecting a lot of it,
Yeah, and throw us the curveball. Like, I mean, I don't think anyone was expecting Legends Arceus, and now that, love him, may his series rest in peace. But Ash is gone, so they're changing everything there as well. So while they're turning over a new leaf there, Horizons, I haven't seen much of it, but it seems like it's very different.
Yeah,
I've liked it so far. I've watched a few. I'm just getting into it the last little bit, and I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, and as well with the game sort of changing with Arceus, the spin-off games that we've had recently have been a bit different too. There's more of a push towards Quest, Pokemon Go's still going, everything like that. It'd be great to see whether they can just sort of push the boundaries a bit more.
Yeah.
Particularly now we've passed 1,000 Pokemon. Like, we're probably never going to have a game again where they're all actually in the game.
Yeah.
Like, it's probably not going to happen unless they do that fan service. But then, is there a point? Not everyone's going to want to have, I don't know, the monkey trio in every game.
Yeah.
So it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
Agreed. Oh man, this is stuff I could talk about for hours. Like the possibilities, right?
Yeah, that monkey trio though. I'll remind you, they're American. Those monkeys. What happened there, guys?
Oh yeah. I guess technically they are because they're from Unova, and that's the American region, right?
The New York region, right?
You know what? It's funny you mentioned that because I watched in your tournament Simi Sage reverse sweep someone because they got knocked down in the Salic Berry range, and then it just started reverse sweeping the team, and I'm just sitting there like, what am I watching right now? So I was like, I'm sitting there, I'm like, I can't remember the last time Simi Sage occupied such a huge part in my brain, and here I am, and I'm just enthralled right now. It was fantastic.
I love it.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. There's been a few random sweeps in tournaments. There was one where I was really proud, but Mela got to the quarterfinals of the Paldea tournament, and then she got destroyed in 6 turns.
Oh, it's always fun though.
Well, she sent out a drought Torkoal against AI Sada.
Okay.
So
interesting.
It activated photosynthesis.
Yeah.
Straight away, and she'd sent out Sandy Shocks. So sweet. It was brutal. But I really enjoyed watching it.
You're just like, oh yeah.
Well, because most of the time when I simulate these, so there's a full stage process because I simulate it on my computer, then I send the link to my phone. I do all my editing on my phone so that I can do it on the go, on the train to work, that kind of thing, without taking my massive gaming laptop with me.
Yeah.
So I send the link to the battle. The downloaded link because my simulator runs locally. It doesn't run off Showdown itself. So it's basically just a copy of Showdown that's here. I don't watch the battles until I'm editing a lot of the time because I just press start, walk away, come back 2 or 3 minutes later when the next one needs to be started, and keep pinballing myself away and back. But yeah, seeing that, I was just like laughing at it as I was editing. What the hell is this? Yeah, when you do get to the final, sorry,
when
you do get to the final of the last one, you'll have to reach out and tell me what you think because that battle actually blew my mind when that happened.
Definitely.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a good one.
Yeah, that's gonna be. I'm super excited to get into that. And the thing is we've had such a blast talking to you, man. Like honestly, this has been. I'm looking forward to getting more into the tournament, seeing the finals and things like that. Before we do sign off, though, we were just wondering, is there? You kind of plugged a little bit, teased a little bit earlier. Is there anything else you'd like to plug? And then, is there any nuggets of wisdom you can give the people before we head out?
For the moment, not really anything to plug. YouTube channel will have something hopefully up by the end of the month, and then probably more consistently throughout next year as opposed to this one. This year it was really just tournament, break, tournament, very long break. So hopefully it's a little bit more consistent throughout next year. In terms of, I guess, words of wisdom to anyone else, particularly if they're looking to do something similar. I mentioned, I think to you both, possibly before we started recording, I was going to start something like this about 5 years ago, but never did. Just give it a go.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about doing it, because when I started my first tournament like this, I posted a video with a preview of my first tournament. It was 1 minute. Then posted the first couple of battles, and left it for an hour, came back, didn't have any views. I was like, oh, this was on TikTok, I'm going to delete these. Nah, nothing's going to happen of it. But then, daughter started crying or something like that, so I got distracted. Came back a few hours later, I'm like, this can't be right. I've got 2,500 followers.
Wow.
So, like, it really can sort of just take off like that, I guess, depending on what the content is, depending on how much effort you put in. But, if, you're ever thinking of starting something like this, just give it a go, because odds are people haven't done anything exactly the same way that you've done it before.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same with the podcast that you're doing. It's different to how other people are doing Pokemon podcasts. It's not usually talk along these lines. It's usually, hey, what's new? This is what's new. Let's talk about this new set of cards. Like, yeah, talking about it like this is, what any gamer wants a conversation to be. About something that they love. Being able to talk about that with, none of my mates are into Pokemon. Like, they're 29. They're grown up.
I love it. Oh, I love that so much. Oh man. Well, again, Thank you so much for joining. That's excellent wisdom for all of us, and everybody out there. Thanks again for joining. This has been Logan, Josh, and Pokedad. We'll see you next time.
See you guys.
Thanks, guys.